Hello! I hope you're having an amazing day wherever you are in the world. I never know whether to start these things with like good morning, good afternoon, like whatever time you're watching this. Anyways, not important. So, what I wanted to talk to I can't talk today. What I wanted to talk about today is how to let go of perfectionism. This is something I struggled with for a long time, and I said it like it was like a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm a perfectionist. Like, it makes it so you're like so much better than everyone else, or like you have such a higher quality standard of working or whatever, or it's like on a job interview where they're like, what are your flaws? And you're like, oh, I'm a perfectionist. I just can't leave it alone until it's perfect. Well, I have news for you. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to run a business, if you really want to get anything going at any point at all in your life ever, you're gonna have to drop that. And here's why it's not as great as you really think it is. Why is that? Because perfectionism is really, Liz Gilbert put it the best way. She was like, perfectionism is fear dressed up in high heels. Because basically, what this means is like when you're not putting things out because they're not perfect, you're just doing it because you're scared. You're not doing it because you're like, oh, I really think if I just wait another week or month or year or however long it is, it's really going to be that much better when you put it out then, as opposed to you just like doing it now. And there is like a discrepancy between being like, I'm not saying do shitty work, like I'm saying like whatever point you're at with the thing that you've got, like it's probably good enough. And you waiting on this supposed moment where it's going to be perfect, which isn't even really a thing, to put it out, is just you slowing yourself down. Like, imperfect action will trump perfect action every single time. Like, I really want to encourage you to like put this upside down on its head and be like, perfection is not a thing, because like what is perfect anyways? Like, you're always going to be improving and growing, and like the person who waits forever to put their thing out because then it'll be perfect, maybe you waited too long and someone else got there already, and maybe theirs isn't like perfect, but it's out there and people are finding it and people are buying it, and nobody cared that it wasn't so-called perfect because they didn't even know the difference between it being perfect and it being not perfect. So if you are waiting on like launching your business, putting something out, like whatever the thing is that you want to do because it's not supposedly perfect, you're gonna be waiting forever. And you really need to examine this whole sense of like thinking that it's gonna feel like you're ready to do it, or that it's gonna be perfect and you'll be like totally stoked. And if it is perfect, you waited too long. like, um, I feel like people sometimes have this misconception of like, people land on my website and they'll be like, oh my God, your website looks amazing. And I'm like, thank you. I have spent 10 years building websites for myself. So I really hope by this point now I'm getting like kind of good at it. It's like you're stepping in at someone's like year 10 or year 5 or year 3, and it's like if you're not even in year 1, like you can't compare yourself to what other people's work is like. This is like that other trap that it's like so easy to fall into, of comparing your like step 1 with someone else's step like 500 bajillion. Like, of course they're gonna look different, and you're not competing with them, because the only person you need to compete with is yourself and your last level. And so, whatever the thing is, like, it's like obviously you're going to be towing the line between like, is it 80% good enough? Yes, put it out, just do it, and know that each time you do it again it will be better. Was I happy with my branding like when I first started when I was 19? Absolutely not. It's horrendous. I don't even know if I could find it now, but I'm pretty sure it was ugly. And like, it's always going to be changing, and you're always going to be changing. Like, life is not stagnant. Nothing in nature stays the same. We're the same as that. Like, we're always going to be learning, and you'll never get to that point of it being good if you're not even willing to do it shitty the first time. And like, when I say shitty, like, it doesn't have to be bad. Like, I'm not saying put out something you're really not proud of, But there is like a difference between like something being almost all the way right and you just putting it out and trusting that like, oh no, maybe it had a typo in it, not the end of the world, like no one's gonna die because you misspelled a word, you know? Like if what you have is like worth sharing with the world, it's worth sharing imperfectly, because most of the time people don't even notice. And like we're just like using the excuse of being a perfectionist and thinking that it's like some kind of like virtuous quality where you're like, oh, I'm like being a perfectionist, I only put things out when they're perfect. Well, then you're waiting too damn long to put it out. Like this is something that I really struggled with before as well, so that's why I feel like I can speak to this so well. Do I think I'm perfect now? No, absolutely not. I put things all the time out where I'm like, well, it's as good as I think it'll get in this moment and I feel like it's worth sharing, so I'm gonna put it out there. And I really need to encourage you to be the same and not get hung up on like the semantics of it and be like, maybe if we change the font like one more time, it'll be perfect and everyone will love it that much more. They probably won't even notice. Like, I hate to break it to you, but it's like you just need to take that imperfect action. Like, imperfect action is how we learn. Imperfect action is how we grow. It's how we get the confidence to do the better version of it because we have the experience. Like, our society really, like, it just has this thing about failure or like things not being good enough. Like we think it's the end of the world, and it's not. The only failing you could do is if you stopped or if you didn't try. So like stop putting it off and like start making the mistakes now. And like of course it's going to be uncomfortable and of course you're going to grow from it, but it's like you're not going to get there if you're not willing to just take those first steps where it's not like so-called perfect, or it's not like how somebody else's step 10 looks like. Like you just have to start putting it out there, and you have to start doing it now, and stop thinking that one day you're gonna create something and be like, it's finally perfect, I'm so happy with it, okay, I can share it with the world. Like that's not gonna happen. And like if anything, the further down the line you go, you're gonna have like so much more of a sphere of reference of like, I guess, how much better work you could do. So you'll almost like, this is something that's always going to be ongoing. You're never going to get to a point where you're like, everything I'm putting out is perfect now, or like, I'm really happy with everything I put out. Like, if you're doing it good enough, that's good enough. Like, I can't stress this enough. And maybe this is like my Aries moon talking, because Aries is like just impulsive and is like, let's go for it. Let's just do it. Let's put it out there. Do it now. Like, instead of sitting there and like, weighing up this thing or this thing. Like you just have to kind of try and cultivate that attitude and facilitate that within yourself and be like, okay, it's not perfect, that's fine, I'm putting it out there, it's fine, we'll build a better one next time. And like once you have a foundation, that's when you can build on it. So like once you start doing things, like yeah, maybe your first website isn't perfect and maybe your second one's not either, but as you keep building them, it's like when you renovate a house. Like my aunt and uncle, they keep like buying properties, renovating houses, and each time like my aunt has an opportunity to build herself a better kitchen, because she knows what she didn't like about the first ones. She knows like, okay, this worked, this didn't, or like I prefer this, or like I really like this feature. And it's the same with you doing your work. Every single time you're gonna do it differently, but you can't get to that point of it being amazing if you weren't willing to take those first steps and try something at first to see if it worked for you. So with that said, I hope that you will reevaluate your opinion on perfectionism and what it really means, and I hope you have an incredible day. I will talk to you next time.